Alright, so what I'm doing is something that I've had planned for a long time but kept forgetting about it or getting busy with other stuff. I'm trying to learn science. Um, every time that I try to learn something, it always goes back to not having an in-depth enough knowledge of quantum physics and stuff. Like if I try to learn history, it ends up going back to evolution, the origins of the universe, and then back to how quantum physics works. When I'm trying to learn programming, it goes back to, from programming to lower level languages to assembly, to how these processors actually work and how they're put together, and then to how those materials actually work, and then back to quantum physics again. Um, it just seems like no matter what I'm studying, like whether it's movies or video games or anything else, it all goes back to quantum physics. So that's what I'm trying to learn. Even when I'm trying to learn math, I can't seem to get around the actual experimental stuff. So I guess that's what I need to learn about first. Alright, quantum mechanics. QM, also known as quantum physics or quantum theory, including quantum field theory, is a branch of physics, which is the fundamental theory of nature. Wait, so physics is the fundamental theory of nature. Well, do you have something that's not a theory that's already been proven? At small scales and low energy levels of atoms and subatomic particles. Alright, so what is physics again? Physics from ancient Greek. Well, I know I can't go down this rabbit hole because all that's going to tell me is like the vague history of the region, and then that's going to go back to human evolution, animal evolution, and early Earth, and then how the universe formed as it is now. So that's not really not gonna tell me anything, so I'll just skip past that and pretend it isn't even there. Uske, 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 Episteme. Knowledge of nature from Usis. Usis. Usis, like Foosis. S. Usis is the natural science that involves the study of matter and its motion and behavior through time and space, along with related concepts such as energy and force. One of the most fundamental scientific disciplines, the main goal of physics is to understand how the universe behaves. Is the natural science. Okay, well, what is natural science? Natural science is a branch of science concerned with the description, prediction, and understanding of natural phenomena based on observational and empirical evidence. Mechanisms such as peer review and repeatability of findings are used to try to ensure the validity of scientific advances. Alright, so understanding of natural phenomena is based on observational and empirical evidence. Okay, so it's based on two different things, but this is explained by this. So this is really the core thing. Natural science is observational and empirical evidence. No. This isn't actually nature. This is the way to explain what nature is. Well, if I look at observation, what that's going to end up being is like a study of human anatomy, and then that's going to go back down the same thing of history. So I guess observational should be excluded, and we should look at empirical evidence. Empirical evidence, also known as sense experience, is the knowledge or source of knowledge acquired by means of the senses, particularly by observation and experimentation. The term comes from the Greek word for experience, emperia. No, emperia. This is like short I sound. Emperia. 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 After Immanuel Kant, it is common in philosophy to call the knowledge thus gained a posteriori knowledge, in contrast with a priori knowledge. Yeah, don't listen to a priori knowledge. That's nonsense. Unless it comes to math, in which case that's predicting possible results in empirical science. What's the difference between knowledge and a source of knowledge? Oh, great. This is now a circular thing. See, we can't explain knowledge without understanding how humans work, and we can't understand how humans work without understanding quantum physics, and we can't understand quantum physics without understanding what physics is. We can't understand physics without understanding nature science, and we can't understand nature science without understanding knowledge. So we've got this big stinking loop here. This is why it's made it difficult for me to learn stuff. So what am I supposed to do? Just skip this top part and like go down to here? Alright, look, fine. Let's look at what knowledge is. Source of knowledge. Well, the source of knowledge is data, right? So this is the coded data, and this is the data entry method. Knowledge is a familiarity, awareness, or understanding of someone or something, such as facts, information, descriptions, or skills which are acquired. Is familiarity, which is acquired through experience or education by perceiving, discovering, or learning. Knowledge can refer to a theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. It can be implicit, as with practical skill or expertise, or explicit, as with a theoretical understanding of a subject. It can be more or less formal or systematic. In philosophy, the study of knowledge is called epistemology. The philosopher Plato famously defined knowledge as justified true belief. Though this Alright, look, if you're going to include something that needs a citation, why is this something that's like a core part of an article on science? I mean, this is supposed to be like hard science here. And you can't even include. How did this even make it into this article if they were going to put that? Be problematic because of the Gettier problems, or is it Gettier? While others defend the Platonic definition. However, several definitions of knowledge and theories to explain it being what? Explain justified true belief? Knowledge acquisition. Alright, knowledge acquisition is different from knowledge itself, though. It involves complex cognitive processes, perception, communication, and reasoning. Well, knowledge is also said to be related to the capacity of acknowledgement in human beings. Okay, well, acknowledgement is just reflecting via communication or data storage what is already in existence. Knowledge is a familiarity, awareness, or understanding of someone or something. All right, so knowledge includes facts, information, descriptions, or skills. All right, so knowledge is all this stuff that's orbiting around someone or something, but they haven't defined what someone or something is. So basically, it's referring to an object without proving that that object is in existence. Uh, great. Something and anything are concepts of existence in ontology. Well, that's not true, is it? All right, so something is the concept, and a thing is the actual thing. Um, Contrasting with the concept of nothing. Both are used to describe the understanding of what exists and is not nothing. All right, so is there a way to define this without using negation? Oops, I want to read that yet. Without needing to address the existence of everything. Both are used to describe the understanding that what exists is not nothing without needing to address the existence of everything. So it's a finite thing, or it's a word that is used the word that is used to describe the concept of a finite thing that exists and is not nothing. Philosopher David Lewis pointed out that these are necessarily vague terms, asserting that ontological assertions of common sense are correct if the quantifiers, such as words something or any and anything, are restricted roughly to ordinary and familiar things. What does he mean by ordinary and familiar things? But do they have to be ordinary and familiar? I mean, I don't really have any lapis lazuli in my possession, but that's a ordinary and a familiar thing to someone else. So does that mean lapis lazuli to me? It's not something? The idea that something is the opposite of nothing has existed since it was proposed by the Neoplatonist philosopher Porphyry. Porphyrios. Does it have a Y at the end then? in the 3rd century. One of the most basic questions of both science and philosophy is, why is there something rather than nothing at all? Well, the better question is, why not? Because you're assuming a priori that that there can be nothing rather than something. A posteriori, what we're looking at is something. Because it's not nothing. If it was nothing, we wouldn't be able to observe it. In fact, we wouldn't even be able to speculate about observing it. In fact, we wouldn't be able to speculate about speculating about observing it. No matter how far you go back recursively, we couldn't not have anything. A question that follows from this is whether it is ever actually possible for there to be nothing at all, or whether there must be always must be something. Who proposed this? Something and anything are classified as pronouns, although they do not stand for another noun as clearly as does thing itself, a word which is always classified as a noun. In predicate logic, which is described in layman's terms as something, can more specifically be regarded as existential qualification, that is, the predication of a property or relation to at least one member of the domain. It is a type of quantifier, a logical constant, which is interpreted as there exists, or there exists one, or for some. It expresses a propositional function that can be satisfied by at least one member of a domain or discourse. In other terms, it is the predication of a property or relation to at least one member of the domain. It asserts that a predicate within the scope of an existential qualifier is true of at least one value and one predicate variable. I think I'll skip that because it seems really complicated, but maybe that means that that's where the answer is. All right, well, logic is just theory, right? No. Logic is a language used to describe reality. It's kind of a middle concept in between natural science and math. What is described in layman's terms as something can more specifically be regarded as existential quantification, the predication of a property or relation to at least one. What is a predication, though? Oh boy. First order logic is also known as first order predicate calculus and predicate logic. It is a collection of formal systems used in mathematics, philosophy, linguistics, and computer science. First order logic uses quantified variables over non-logical object and allows the use of sentences that contain variables, so that rather than propositions such as Socrates is a man, one can have expressions in the form there exists X such that X is Socrates and X is a man, where there exists is a quantifier and X is a variable. There exists potato such that potato is Socrates and potato is a man. We've got the variable being used 3 times in the sentence, but it's the same variable every time. There exists a situation such that a situation is Socrates and a situation is a man. What do they mean? There exists a noun such that noun is Socrates and noun is a man. That makes sense. There exists a thing such that a thing is Socrates and a thing is a man. So that that thing is both Socrates and a man, or a man and Socrates are interchangeable, and a thing such that is also equal to Socrates and a man. This distinguishes it from propositional logic, which does not use quantifiers or relations. All right, so the key here is quantified variables. In logic, thing that goes off to a separate topic, quantification specifies the quantity of specimens in the domain of discourse that satisfy an open formula. I did not understand most of the words in that sentence. Most two common quantifiers mean for all and there exists. For example, in arithmetic, quantifiers allow this should be singular, I think. Like, okay, let's say this was, I don't know, people. You wouldn't say people allows, you would say people allow. For example, in arithmetic, quantifiers allow one to say that the natural numbers go on forever by writing that for all n, where n is a natural number, there is another number, say the successor of n, which is one bigger than n. For all. All right, so the domain of discourse here is the subject, and quantity of specimens is the predicate. So we should be looking at the domain of discourse here, right? Resulting expression is a quantified expression. It is said to be quantified over the predicate, such as the natural number x has a successor, whose free variable is bound by the quantifier. In formal languages, quantification is a formula constructor that produces new formulas from old ones. Semantics of the language specifies how the constructor is interpreted. Two fundamental kinds of quantification in predicate logic are universal quantification and existential qualification. The traditional symbol for the universal qualifier is A, a rotated letter A, and for the existential quantifier, exists, is E, a rotated letter E. These quantifiers have been generalized beginning with the work of Mostowski and Lindstrom. Quantification is used as well in natural languages. Examples of qualifiers in English are for all, for some, many, few, a lot, and no. See quantifier linguistics for details. All right, so what am I going to look at first? Domain of discourse. In the formal sciences, thing that goes off track, the domain of discourse, also called the universe of discourse, universal set, or simply universe, is the set of entities over which certain variables of interest in some formal treatment may range. Alright, so this is what we're calling the thing that we're talking about. And this is the actual thing. And this is the modifier. So this is the subject, though. Alright, so this is the predicate, the set of. It's the possessive thing, the genitive thing. This is the predicate, this is the subject. Entities. An entity is something that exists as itself, as a subject or as an object, actually or potentially, concrete or abstractly, physically or not. It need not be of material existence. In particular, abstractions and legal fictions are usually regarded as entities. In general, there is also no presumption that an entity is animate or present. Animate mean in this context. Alive. The word is abstract in intention. It may refer, for example, to Bucephalus, the horse of Alexander, to a stone. Okay, is Bucephalus the horse of Alexander? It is. Okay. I thought it was Bucephalus or the house of Alexander or. Okay, that's why I use this. That's why they use the semicolon. To a stone, to a cardinal number. What's a cardinal number? I'm just going to avoid that for now. Let's just say a number. To a language or to ghosts and other spirits. Where are they getting this definition from? As in... Good grief. I hope that they're referring to this in the Stirnerite sense rather than the superstitious sense. The word entitative is the adjective form of the noun entity. Something that is entitative is considered in its own right. In philosophy, ontology is the study of being, existence, and the recognition of entities. The words ontic and entity are derived respectively from the ancient Greek and Latin present participles that mean being. So it means being and being. So ontitative would be a being that is considered in its own right. In law, a legal entity that is capable of bearing legal rights and obligations, such as a natural person or an artificial person, a business entity or a corporate entity. Polity? How do you pronounce this? Polity? Polity? Politea. Such as a natural person or an artificial person. Wait, I already read that part. In politics, entity is used as a term for territorial divisions of some countries. Examples are Bosnia and Herzegovina. Herzegovina? How do you pronounce this?
Bosnia and Herzegovina. Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Herzegovina. Okay, I can get that. It's pronounced like Hertz with a T. All right, so something that is abstract, it can exist, and something that is in actual existence is also an entity. Okay, so an entity is something that either exists or doesn't exist. Actual is something that exists or doesn't exist actually, but either way you're treating it as an object of discourse. So what you have is entity is a set, and the subsets are things that actually exist and things that don't actually exist. Either way, we're going to use entity to talk about stuff. Either real stuff or fake stuff. So this seems like a pretty good dead end. Wait, no. An entity is something. So we go from something to first order logic to quantifier to domain of discourse to entity and then back to something. Once again, a circular definition. Exists. Existence is commonly held to be that which objectively persists independent of one's presence. That which objectively persists. Blobbity blobbity blobbity. So the subject here is that or that which. Just isolate it from the rest of the sentence. That can exist separately from all these other modifiers and predicates. Okay, so what is that? I guess this is going to describe what that is, or at least how to go about studying it. Ontology is the philosophical study of the nature of being, existence, or reality in general, as well as the basic categories of being and their relations. Traditionally listed as part of the major branch of philosophy known as metaphysics, ontology deals with questions concerning what entities exist or can be said to exist. For instance, does the stellar structure UDFJ-39546284 exist? And how such entities can be grouped, related within an hierarchy, and subdivided according to similarities and differences. All right, so I'm going to assume that that is synonymous with the nature of being, existence, or reality in general. And this is just ways of talking about those things. So these three things here, nature of being, existence, or reality in general, are the subjects. Let's just postpone looking at that for a minute and see if the rest of this will tell us something. Materialism holds that only things that exist are matter and energy, that all things are composed of material, that all actions require energy, and that all phenomena, including consciousness, are the result of material interactions. Life is a characteristic which distinguishes objects that have self-sustaining biological processes from those that do not, either because such functions have ceased, death, or because they lack such functions and are classified as inanimate, in which they were never alive to begin with. In mathematics, existence is asserted by a quantifier, the existential quantifier, one of two quantifiers, the other being the universal quantifier. Wait, I read that wrong. In mathematics, existence is asserted by a quantifier, the existence quantifier, one of two qualifiers. All right, so they really needed to reword this so that it would be major category first, or the set, and then the subset. In mathematics, existence is the existential quantifier. So it's not, existence is not the existential quantifier. The existential quantifier is just that which is asserting existence. The properties of the existential quantifier are established by axioms. Yeah, so that's really not relevant to what we're studying here. I'm studying reality, not abstractions of reality. Why don't they have a hyperlink to existence? Oh, that's right, because we're already in the article on existence. So ontology is the study of this thing. I'm getting a sinking feeling in my stomach that I'm not going to be able to get my head around this at all. Ever. Being is an extremely broad concept encompassing objective and subjective features of reality and existence. Anything that partakes in being is also called a being, though often this usage is limited to entities that have subjectivity, as in the expression human being. The notion of being has inevitably been elusive and controversial in the history of philosophy, beginning in Western philosophy with attempts among the pre-Socratics to deploy it intelligibly. As an example of efforts in recent times, Martin Heidegger, who drew himself on ancient Greek sources, adopted German terms like Dasein to articulate the topic. Several modern approaches build on such continental European explorers, or such continental European exemplars as Heidegger, and apply metaphysical results to the understanding of human psychology and the human condition generally, notably in the existentialist tradition. By contrast, in mainstream analytical philosophy, the topic is more confined to abstract investigation. In the work of such influential theorists as W.V.O. Quine, to name one of many. One of the most fundamental questions, it should be questions, plural, that continues to exercise philosophers is put by William James. How comes the world to be here at all instead of the non-entity which might be imagined in its place? From nothing to being, there is no logical bridge. Well, why would it not be? He's assuming a priori that there has to be a nothing to something versus a something to nothing. I mean, there's no evidence that there ever has been such a thing as the absence of something. Alright, that's going to take me down to philosophy. I'm not really interested in philosophy. I'm interested in reality. Reality is the state of things as they actually exist. That's not a hyperlink, is it? Dang it. Reality is the state of things as they thing that. This is a loop here. Reality is the state of reality. Good grief. Reality is the state of things as they actually exist rather than as they may appear or might be imagined. Reality includes everything that is seen and has been, whether or not it is observable or comprehensible. A still broader definition includes that which has existed, exists, or will exist. Well, we can't define existence without reality. Okay, so by existence, truth refers to what is real, while falsity refers to what is not. Fictions are considered not real. So what's the difference between reality and physical existence? Alright, so reality is the state of things. I'm not seeing how the two are different or can be distinguished. All right, so existence is the study of things that currently exist. Reality is everything that is past, present, future, um, and things that are observable or incomprehensible, or inobservable. So nature is the observable stuff. Reality is the more obliquely um, thing. Is the more oblique stuff. We have everything. Blobbity blobbity. Connotation various overgeneralized. Blobbity blobbity. Blobbity blobbity blobbity. Blobbity blobbity. What does M stand for? Mass? All right, so what we really want to study here is that which has physical existence. Okay, so physical existence is a subset of reality. Reality is the major set, though. All right, I think that's a good stopping point for now. I'll just pick it up at reality next time.